Okay.
All right. So I'll just do
Okay.
like, our intro the session, what's, like what the session is about, and then we'll kickstart. We'll get
All
started.
right.
All
All
right.
right. See.
Okay. So oh good. This thing is fun. I don't know why it's always funny to me because like I've done this thing over and over again. It's anytime I do it, it's always like funny for me. I just don't know why.
Mhm.
But yeah, hello everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. So on today's webinar we'll be talking about building and designing and also shipping, as a solo entrepreneur. Right. So basically the whole target or the goal for this conversation is to equip, designers with some basic understanding of building their own tools, right? Because right now, with the way things are moving, trying having like a basic understanding of how to build your own products or build products as a designer seems to be like very essential, right? So then I'm just trying to like get up to speed on that particular what I that do I even say topic, right? But then like that particular skill or why it is important and basically like how to also get started. So I am your host Michael Ivy, and today I am here with Hope or UX Kafui, and he's a seasoned product designer based in Ghana here, right? He also has like lots of products under his belt, and I'm pretty sure most of you know him. So I'll hand over to him for a quick intro, and then we'll get started with today's session. So Kafui, over to you.
Yes, sir. By the way, if the quick intro is part of the presentation, do I do it before the presentation or do I just go with the presentation?
I think if it's part of it, then maybe you can do it as part of the presentation.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, like I said earlier, I have some small thing somewhere.
All right.
So I'll just quickly share my screen and we see how it goes. All right. Um, I'm also going to stop my video. This is going to be interfering. So um, you can see my screen, yes? My screen is
Yes, sir.
yeah,
We can see your screen.
awesome stuff. Okay, so my name is Hope, Hope Adoli, and thank you so much for the opportunity. Um, yes, today we want to talk about like designing, which is something we've talked a lot about, building and building in the sense of developing coding, etc., or getting your design from being a prototype that cannot be used to something that can actually be used, and then shipping, which is essentially getting that product into the hands of people who you expect to use. Um, and I'm very happy to talk about this. It's something I love actually. Things around how developers can like build on their leverage their skills to learn new things and experiment. We do a lot of experimentation in the field, right, in the design field. So um, using those same skill sets, how we experiment, how we get new knowledge to learn new things is something I'm like always excited about. So I'm very happy to talk about this today. My name is Hope Adoli, as Michael rightly said, or Kafui. You can call me Kafui. I prefer Kafui instead. I'm a product designer, which is, I think, what everybody knows for me. I currently lead product design at Petra Group as like my 9 to 5, where we work on a couple of like financial products. The most popular one are currently, which internally is probably like just 10% of the things that we do. And in terms of popularity internally, it's probably like the second or third most popular thing internally, but externally, it's one of the most popular products among like millennials. The working class essentially is the Achieve app that we are currently working on. I've been working with Petra since 2021. I built their first version, the second version, which is currently what is live, and then the third version that we'll be launching next year, which is sort of very different from what you currently have achievers, like a lot of new stuff, a lot of exciting stuff coming on. So yes, apart from that,
Kafui.
we handle, in fact, the thing we are known for very much before this achieve thing started is pensions. So currently the third largest pension provider in the country. So like hundreds. Currently we serve more than 10,000 companies and their employees. And we have other projects like Achieve Payroll, which is, as the name suggests, payroll software. We have ESS, which is an employee self-service platform as well. But those are mostly B2B. We sell them directly to employers, right? So they are not like very popular. But then Achieve is very popular, and that's what like a lot of people know. Sorry, did someone raise
Yes,
their
Kafui.
yes?
So I don't want to interrupt you, but you're sharing your screen and we can only see your browser, which is in the meeting window.
You don't say.
Yes. So if you're sharing anything else, you actually can't see.
Okay, I'm coming. Okay, I think old age is finally catching up to me. How do you do this thing now? In okay, I think I found it.
Okay, great.
Are we seeing something else? Design
Yes.
to built
Yep.
in.
Yes, you can
Okay,
see.
that is
Click on
nice.
presentation. Yeah.
Technology is great.
Yes.
Okay, so yes, so like I was saying, Achieve is the most popular one that everyone knows, and that is what like I'm usually called out for a lot of the time. But apart from being a product designer, I've been a developer and a developer advocate. Been in the developer space for like almost the same number of years as I've spent being a designer. But it's something that I don't really talk about a lot, and that's why I'm very happy for the opportunity today. So, apart from being a product designer, I've been in a developer space, like I said, somewhere since 2017. Started playing around Google's Blogspot. When I found out that yeah, you could edit your Google Blogspot to like change colors and all that. That's when I started like getting fascinated by code and all that, and I'll find like I'll browse templates and all that, download them, install in Google. Then it reflects. I change some colors, I change some font sizes, and over time, it became something I was really interested in. Around the same time, we had this initiative in Ghana called Django Girls, and the whole idea around Django Girls is to help underrepresented ladies and underrepresented women, expose them to coding, programming, right, using Django. If you don't know what Django is one of the most popular frameworks for Python, the programming language called Python. Um, and so we were doing that. I had a little bit, after reading Django for some few weeks, I realized something I could really look into, like, in terms of like long-term relationship with the programming programming. So I started working with the Django Girls Foundation, and we would organize 1 to 2 day workshops across Ghana. And it got to a time we had covered all the 10 regions in Ghana before it became 16 regions. Had gone to all the regions and all that. And over time, I started interfacing with more developers over and over again because of this, because so many other developers come around to teach the Django stuff. And then over time, I joined the Django Software Foundation, which is the organization that um, uh, oversees the Django framework, as a board member, which I still currently am. And from 2017 to now, I've worked significantly in the developer space, especially Django, Python community, and including organizing workshops, conferences. We just finished our first which is Django conference for about 400 developers in Africa last year in Zanzibar, Tanzania. It was an awesome project. So I've worked on things like Diagonal Space, which are all like stuff for developers, built many projects for developers as users, right? Worked with so many developers across the board. And it's been a fun and interesting journey doing that. Over time, I started looking into like more things. Again, as product designers, we like exploring, we like experimentation, we like just finding new ideas and playing around them. So Django is a backend stuff, right? Python, Django, backend. Over time, I started wondering, how about like front end stuff? Because front end takes data from backend and displays it to users. So if I know how to design in Figma, which I'm sure we already know, that's why I'm not talking about it so much. I'm mainly focusing on like development and coding. So if I can already, since I'm already good with Figma and product design and all the wireframing and user flows and all of that, and I know a little bit of the backend as well with Django and Python. How about the one that connects the sort of the guy that sits in the middle between the UI, the front Figma guy, and the backend guy? What happens to it? So I started looking into it. So I started learning React, looked into Vue.js, um, and of course, you have to know some basic HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to be able to do that. So I started that as well. And over time, again, it became so nice because now I could design my own UI and write some HTML, CSS to bring it to life. And then if I want, I can connect it to a Django backend and it is live. And it was so great. Um, but then along the line, I dropped the coding to focus on design. When I started working with like many clients over time, um, until about 2 years ago, that I picked it up again. And the reason is having worked in like open source communities for a long time, and having worked on my personal projects also for some time. Um, I've come to realize that being multifaceted, right? Being someone who can do this and I think that's what we call jack of all trades. But being multifaceted is actually a superpower, something that can help you. There's no downside to being to being a multifaceted person. Someone who knows UI, someone who knows front end, and someone who knows back end. There's this thing we call super apps. Things we build a lot, super apps where we have like mini apps coming together to make one big app for apps, right? So those are apps, super apps. I take the same analogy for a human being, and I see if you're someone who can do great UI and engineer great UX, and then take that UI, the Figma design, and implement it properly in production level code, I don't see any downside to that, right? I don't see why I shouldn't want to learn it because the worst that can happen is I don't get to know how to do one of them like good enough or well enough, right? Um, and already I am quite experienced in the design side. So the only downside here is me not maybe getting to know how to write a code like in production level. There's a difference between writing your own basic stuff and then doing some and then writing production level code. So I started again, started taking some courses, and this time around I focused a lot on like specific languages that I want to learn. I wanted to learn Flutter, React, React Native, Vue for the front end, and then back to my back end again, Python, Django, Wagtail, which is also another new library based on the framework based on the Python programming language. Um, and I've been working on that since. Um, in terms of work, I've been using this at my workplace for some time now. Like I said, Achieve, for example, is coming up. And if you go to Achieve's website, it's a website built in 2021 when the very first version was done. It was what's the name? A WordPress template that some developer worked on, and it's been there since. Nothing has been done to it. So one of the things I'm currently doing in my free time is building that website, especially as we are building the V3 of Achieve now, working on a new website that will match that V3, right, with the new features and the new experiences we want to ship so users can have access to. So it's something I use now at work on my free time. So I design the UI and I open my VS Code and I start working on it. Um, Apart from that, some of you probably know the Mizomo project. This is something I also use there once in a while when developers that I'm working with they ship push their code to GitHub. I can pull it and then make some changes on my local device. Let me see if I have the VS Code open. Good. So this is VS Code, for example, and I can quickly um, change something to see how it works in code, and then if it's something I want to see like actually come to life, I make the changes in Figma and then it's implemented, right? And so this is something I currently use a lot. Apart from that, there are other new projects that I work on. For example, there's a project called Project Last Didi, and there's another one called uh, what's the name? US Campus, right? And these ones are all things that I expect to use this new coding skill that I'm trying to do in like production level, not just writing something that stays on my laptop forever, right? And so the main question I think I may have touched on this already is what exactly forced me into doing stuff like this. First of all, is because of my exposure to like the community, the developer community, and then seeing the possibilities that I can bring if I am able to connect these two fields, both the design and the coding. And the second thing is also because of where I think we are going as what's the name? An industry or sector design field. Um, some time ago, it used to be that there's a UX researcher, I think that still exists, but not so much like it used to be, where there's a UX researcher, there's a UI guy, there's a UX guy, there is some QA guy who is somewhere different. Um, there is someone who tests the app who is also somewhere different. And then there's a PM, and all these people are supposed to be communicating on one project. And it's been very inefficient, right? Where there's, design is very, everyone has their own opinion on how this should go, how this should work. Apart from data, there's also users trust you to be able to make proper judgments on their behalf. So when they see what they've told you, this is our problem, they want to be, oh, this is the solution you brought. Okay, okay. And I didn't think about it like this, but this actually even works better. Apart from your basic, okay, if you click here, your problem should be solved, and they agree. They expect, apart from that, that you bring something else that wows them. To be able to do that is it's a matter of like guts and opinions, right? So having one person do that, having another person being the one working on the UI, and another person being the researcher, it's so inefficient. And over time, employers are beginning to see that what if it's possible to have one person do this, right? One person who is able to work on the UX and then design the UI as well. And from there, which is where we currently are, where there's one person doing UI, UX, and probably there's a researcher somewhere, or that person is still the same person doing the research. I am seeing the possibility of us moving into a new field where the new term of design engineer coming up as we go along. I'm sure some of us may have heard the design engineer term already, where we are expected to know something about code. So you see job requirements for like new jobs, and they are like product designer needed, and then one of the requirements is basic understanding of HTML, CSS, JavaScript, etc. And it's beginning to play out in real time. Just recently, a friend of mine, product designer, got hired not because of him knowing the product design, but because he knows how to like build the product itself in Ruby, the programming language Ruby. And he recently relocated to Spain, and he's being paid the salary of two people. So this new era where you are paid for being able to do multiple things, so you are paid for the things you are able to do instead of what we currently have where one person does and there's like one person's payment. You do like three people's thing and there's one person's payment. It's also very soon looking like something that would be a thing of the past. So yes, I see this trend continue where we have a lot of companies beginning to bring in product designers who know how to not just design the UI, but able to implement implement it using either code or no code tool or low code tools, which I'll come to later, right? So that's one of the things. So yes, being exposed to the community was one, and then my personal understanding of where we are getting to, especially with at the introduction of AI and all these new terms coming up, here and there, it's going to be very important that as a product designer, you know how to bring your projects to life. And then also for my personal projects, like I said earlier, currently on Mizomo, I'm able to put a code. I'm able to do some basic changes immediately locally to see how it works. And then if that works, I make changes on Figma. And then the other developers that are working on it are able to take. That makes it easy for us to work. If it's something I can do using my code, I believe my developer can do it as well, right? So it's not like you're going to take over a developer's job. Obviously, developers are still going to be very, very important. Of course, even though they are doing everything possible to make themselves to make themselves unemployed in the near future with all this AI stuff they are building every day. But they are still going to be very important because the AI can write all the code, but it's still going to need some human intervention to like read through it and go through it and be sure that it's not writing rubbish, right? So that's so again for my personal projects because of the exposure to the community, the developer community, and the possibilities it's brought me. This working on open source projects like Django Not Space, like I said earlier, and even organizing these international conferences attended by multiple like designers from many places around the world. When we organized DjangoCon Africa last year and DjangoCon US in Durham earlier this year, not even earlier this year, just last month, September, um, this conferences give you opportunity to meet like some of the best people in the industry, and this gives you, and these are not people you would have met by just sitting in your room and doing nothing, but because you are out there talking to developers and working with them, you get new opportunities to work on even new projects and have to, like the opportunity to meet people, right? So this gives me a lot of joy, and that's one of the main reasons why I continue to be in the developer space. And again, I talked about being able to quickly prototype my things, not just in Figma, but now check it with code to see if I have problems. I just go to a certain guy. These days they call him Claude or Cloud, something they call him that these days. I go to him or her, they, and type in and check how should I fix this? If not, I reach out to other developers I know, and then I quickly fix. And that is super helpful. Like I said, being multifaceted, I see it as a superpower. I see something that makes you better as a human being generally. And being multifaceted goes way beyond being able to design and code. I have an aspiration to be the designer, and this is real life thing I'm talking about. My aspirations to be a designer who can code, who is also a farmer, who is probably also a teacher, ICT teacher in some JSS or something along the lines, who is a DJ, who is a caterer, who is a chef, etc. Right? So being multifaceted, I think it's like very important to like your growth, gives you opportunities to like meet people and do awesome stuff. So that is why I do that's why I'm like very much interested in not just knowing now how to design using like these prototyping tools, Figma, Sketch, and Penpot and the rest, but then also being able to build these things in using code and shipping them and seeing them live. Someone mentioned my portfolio site. It's one of the things I built using my own code, and I don't really use like Tailwind and all of that. I want to write the CSS, every single interaction. I want to be like very responsible for them, every click and all that, how they look, how many pixels here and there, and being able to bring my own design to life where there's no loss in what I was thinking when I was designing it to how I've built it is also a very good thing, right? It's a great feeling. It gives you a great feeling. So it's one of the things that I like a lot also about like being able to design and being able to build as well. So those are some of the reasons. And that if I was to tell someone why they should also probably think about learning to build their things. Again, I chose the code route. I chose to build using code and VS Code and all that, and the GitHub and all that. But you can use so many no-code tools and low-code tools that are available. You do not need to like um, worry and suffer trying to learn hardcore JavaScript and all that. If you can just do it with Webflow or Framer or one or any of the 200 new apps that come up. There's new ones. There are new ones like Play that helps you build actual prototypes using your phone, right? So all those things exist now. And there's again AI that's helping people write components and all that every day. So that's that. And yeah, I already started talking about the tools I use. So when it comes to ideation, designing, prototyping, quick prototyping, the usual guys, the usual suspects, Figma, FigJam, Rotato is a new tool it just came out recently. Not very, very new, but quite new compared to the rest of the tools here. Helps you to quickly mock up your stuff and show like perspectives and things, and you can export them and use in your design as well. Penport is open source Figma alternative, right? It's purely open source, and it's also very good. And it's also good for designers who are also developers. The code inspection things, at least the feedback from everyone that's been using it so far has been very positive with regards to how they're able to handle developers and designers, both in terms of like developers being able to inspect code and all that. So it's very good. It's something I use a lot, especially for like my personal projects. Penport is very good. Figma always reliable go-to guy, even though they have some very weird updates recently with the UI3, but we still like them very much. And then FigJam, of course, for quick ideation, drawing some user flows and all that. FigJam is always the go-to tool, right? And there are a number, dozen other ones I use, but these are like the main things I use every day, day to day. And then for development, the usual guys, VS Code. I don't really like to worry myself thinking about it. Any other thing. VS Code is very good. I remember using Sublime Text somewhere in the past, but then peer pressure pushed me to VS Code, and I've been there since. Netlify has been my go-to guy for um, hosting my website since. They have a free version and they have drag and drop options, and they have options to connect to GitHub and all that. And this new in the past few months, cloud, which I've always had big issue. As in, if I have 99 problems, mentioning cloud is one of them. It's something I've been using a lot. So I say, okay, I'm working on this React project. I'm trying to connect maybe my backend, Wagtail backend or Django backend to the React project. But how do we start? And it says, okay, so you create this file, and then it generates the code. The good thing is it's very good. Sorry.
Please, you can continue. I think it was a mistake. Someone unmuted but then quickly muted themselves.
All right. Yeah. So Cloud is very good with like reading the documentations and coming up with like very beautiful code. Just recently, we are working on something internally at the Mizomo, right, where we are bringing some pro features, pro for like professional uh, travel content creators, where they can have access to advanced tools within the Mizomo app. And I worked on the Figma design, and then I wanted to see how it would look if it was to be in code. But then I was feeling too lazy, so I just went to Cloud and typed in, okay, Cloud, I wanted to write a React app that would do A, B, C, D, etc. Like I just give it the prompt, and then within 20 seconds, it came up with a thing, and it was so perfect. And I was so wondering, so what's happening here? And so now all I had to do is copy that code, get into my VS Code, paste it there, and check it out myself. And it was working just as I wanted. All I had to do now is maybe change some colors, change some font, and maybe change some images in there, and I am very good to go. I'm good to go. And this was done within less than 30 seconds. And that's how good like it is now trying to learn how to code. The tools are so good now, the AI platforms are so good now that all you need is getting basic understanding of the the languages, and they are very happy to help you, right? So that's that. And again, in terms of development, there are like a lot other tools I use, but these are like my main go-to ones. So if I'm hosting the project on GitHub, then I push to GitHub and connect it to my Netlify. If it's a very small project that I'm not pushing to GitHub, then I just drag the folder straight into Netlify, create a new project on Netlify, drag it directly there, and it's good to go. So that I think the last one I want to talk about is do we go from here, and essentially what my plan for the next couple of years is. Um, it's simple. So first thing what we'll talk about is me now wanting to get into like writing production level code on for actual projects. I'm currently writing what could essentially be considered production level code, but for personal projects, right? Not things that would like have heavy user in there. But then this is the goal. The goal is to now continue doing that, but for like actual projects with hundreds of thousands of users on there. Again, like I said, the trend going forward, as I see like design engineer roles coming up, just like it's going to explode, just like the way we had the UI UX design thing explode within the last 7 8 years. It became mainstream and everybody wanted to get in. It became hot cake and everyone jumped in. Design engineering is going to be one of the most popular terms going forward in the next 2 3 years 4 years. It's going to be very popular, and it's very important that we are like prepared for that, where we are not left behind because we cannot do some framer or um, webflow uh, website, right? So that is that. Also, I want to continue to contribute to open source. By the way, OSS means open source software. And open source software, it's a topic for another day. I love open source software because it creates a lot of opportunity for us. Open source makes it possible for us to access essential tools, right? Where now we live in a world where like everything costs an arm and leg. Figma is $15 a month. This is $10 a month. This is $5 a month. Open source alternatives give us like opportunity to access these products without paying. And so people like me who come from very not well-to-do background, we are able to access technology, essential technologies, essential tools for free, or like for free. So it's one of my life goals and something I'm very proud of to always be doing, to always contribute to open source projects. So learning to code production level high quality code makes it easy for me to also contribute not just design but code as well to open source projects, right? And also things like this where I talk about why we need to also start to learn to build our own projects, build things we do on Figma. My goal also is to like improve um, or expose other designers to this, where they can see it for something they can take on during their free period. Just check to see how how they can also like acquire these new skills, building these new skills, because it takes a lot of discipline as well um, um, to work on stuff like this, to learn this, especially when it's something totally new. You see some line of code and you wonder why human beings write stuff like this with some double asterisks and question marks and things, and you're like, there's like ternary numbers and all that, like all that. It takes a lot of discipline, right? But then being able to do that also gives you like these new skills and makes you ready to excel in your field, and also prepares you for whatever may come next, right? So my goal also is to like talk about this more, raise awareness about like the possibility of being able to do stuff like this, being able to build your own things, be able to code, be able to build your own designs as a designer, and to again, like I said, to help us also like prepare for what the future um, is coming with. And it's very crazy. Nobody knows what is going to happen, but it's very interesting, and it's something that we should be very interested in, like actively participating in, right? So that is essentially like I said, a very small presentation I prepared, and it's already what 30 something minutes. That's awesome. So thank you so much. I know there's so many other things that I could talk about, but I've not talked about. So if you have questions on that, I'm very happy to take them, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much for the presentation, Kafui. I really enjoyed it. I know everyone did as well. There's one thing you mentioned that really caught my attention, or like one of the things that you mentioned that caught my attention was um, making sure that things aren't lost in translation. You know, when you're working with like a team,
Mhm.
right? And then if you are able to, or if you have the ability to be able to, like build quick prototypes yourself, in code or whatever platform that you choose to be able to use that to demonstrate your idea to your team, it's actually also like quite very helpful because like as designers sometimes we basically just like communicating with people in different spaces can be quite difficult because we designers speak one language, developers also speak one language, and product people also speak like a different language altogether. So then having the ability to build something to show everyone, right, it's just like always good. So that's also something that I'm looking forward to a lot of people, a lot of designers in the space doing more of as well.
Awesome stuff. Yeah, very invaluable skill to have. It's very good. I think if there are some developers, they can testify that that really helps a lot. As a makes it easier. If they know they are communicating with someone who understands them as well,
Mm.
it's very easy to work together as a team. Yeah.
Excuse me, please. Does anyone have any question or anything they'd like to ask Kafui? If you have, you can just unmute and then ask, or you can also drop it in the chat as well.
Please ask why. If you cannot figure it out, we'll open the cloud and figure it out together. Why? But
Yeah.
ask. Let's go.
Yeah, I think as you wait, I'd like to ask you your experience with these AI tools, right? Because I've been using them myself, and I just want to also like hear from someone else who has been using them as well in your workflow.
Yeah. So AI, at least as of now, is very tricky with regards to how we can work with it purely in design. When it started, say a year or two ago, it was doing like very basic stuff based on what it's trained on, the data it's trained on. And now it's beginning to do things that are making us wonder. At first, I used to feel very safe as a designer that, oh, yeah, I will not be creative enough. But then we are beginning to realize that with more data, they're able to like think with on like more complex stuff. They're able to come up with very interesting like outputs. And people have also, by the way, people are learning. There's a new sort of job coming up now called prompt engineering, and not the technical part of prompt engineering, but there are people who just know how to properly ask AI the things they want to ask it, so it gives them the kind of information they are looking for. So whilst the rest of us can just type, who is probably the president of Ghana, or can you help me with a mobile app? There's someone who just knows how to construct that prompt properly, that with just the first output, it's so good enough. And that is where I'm trying to get into. I'm trying to get to right now. With what I've done so far, it takes me about two, three, four prompts to get something solid. The first one is always okay, and then we improve and improve. So by the fourth, fifth one, I start to get like proper stuff. In terms of design, I've not really used it for design related work, as I believe, again, currently, even though it's improved a lot, it's still just producing elements from all the things that it's been fed, right? Some five or six components from Figma community. So whenever you ask for maybe this app, it's just going to take those same components, put them together, and give to you as an output. I've not, so I don't rely on that at all. What I rely on it for are for like coding, and yeah, mostly coding things, and probably normal general uh, knowledge stuff. So that is so far for me. For design, not so much. Even though it seems to have improved a lot, I still don't think it's at that level where it can generate its own new UI. It's always going to just be remixing all the things that's been fed and bringing. But for code, it's very essential. Like it's a very essential tool for me now. Something that I actually actively rely on when I'm beginning a new project that I know I'll need code for. I just know that I'll ask Claude for something along the line. So it's like part of uh, my tools, the things I know I would need. And sometimes I often open the page down before I start. So when I need, I just switch there and type whatever I want to type, copy the code, come back to VS Code and continue doing stuff.
See that's very nice. That's actually what I also do as well.
Mm.
Because usually when I'm doing what I do is on my monitor I open
You split?
yeah so I open like the browser on the left side, and then
Mhm.
I have my code editor on the right side, and then
Mhm.
I'll have Figma open on my laptop
Yes.
on my laptop.
Perfect
So
combo.
yeah, so like I'm looking at the design here. I'm coding on the monitor, like right side of the monitor. If I have any questions for the AI, I just like type it in the browser on the left side as
Yeah.
well. And
Yeah.
there's also this new tool called Kesa.ai, I think.
Yeah.
That one too is also like quite good. It's embedded into the code editor itself. So that one you can just like prompt, you just select your code, the code that you want, like you need help with, you just select it, and then you kind of like prompt the AI, and then the AI runs, gives you results, and then you can just add it to your code base like directly in the editor. That's also quite good.
Yeah.
um yeah,
Yeah.
William, you have your hand up, so you can unmute and then ask your question.
Okay. Hi everyone. Yeah, I've enjoyed the section, but my question is, you talking about AI. I want to know, how can we be more, how can I be more creative in my personal brand in this generative AI era?
How can you be more creative?
Yeah, in my personal brand in this generative AI era.
Mm, I don't think I got the question. So how can you be more creative as in your work when you are working? How can like creativity show up? Like your outputs will be like very creative, or is it you personally?
Yeah, I think I was listening to a podcast, some podcast recently, and they said sometimes in designing you have to have a personal touch
Mhm.
in the every project you are working on. So since we are in this era of generative AI, how can I be
Mhm.
more creative? Yeah, in my creative process or in my designs.
Okay, so personally, I don't give advice. That's one thing to like other people like telling them, "Oh, this I think you should do." What I do, or what I can do instead is, what will I do if I was the one asking that question to myself? What, how would you be, right? So if it was me wondering, how can I be like creative? How can I have like this unique touch thing? Okay, in your question is you are worried about how can you create so much, like be so much that when something from you comes out, everybody knows this is you, this is from a human, this is from William the Great, not GPT 5 or 10 or in 2 years time. Is that it? Because AI could also generate something like that. Is that it?
Yes, please.
Okay, boss. Yes. So,
Yes, please.
this is what I believe. AI, like I said earlier, AI is so good. It's getting better every day. There's now um, computer use by the creators of Claude, Anthropic, right? And what it does is it almost always behaves like a human, and you can just give it a prompt and it will move the cursor around using your computer as if it was you, right? If it has a problem, it comes in, check it, and go back, and etc. AI is becoming better and better by the day. But at the end of the day, AI is still going to just generate exactly what is being trained. And that's the difference between humans and us. We have opinions, they don't. They have output based on what has been fed them, right? So if you can keep to how you've been working, how you've been coming up with new things, um, you are already halfway past the AI. I'm going to give an example of how AI can never like be as creative as you when it comes to design, especially if design is the main challenge you have right now, how to be creative with your design. AI, like I said, is going to be generating based on the data it's been trained on, for at least as of now. That's what we know. And like we know, the race to AGI and etc. is just so that they want to see which AI can have its own opinion, which can like come up with its own ideas that is different from what is being trained on. So if it is me and you ask me what's my name, I say my name is Kafui. Tomorrow I can decide that due to the fact that I don't like sleeping at 9 p.m., I'll stop eating apple and I'll start running until 8 a.m. That's a new opinion, totally new opinion, just based on how I am feeling, right? So that's the edge you have over AI now. AI cannot come up with its own new opinion except one is being trained on. So if you can keep to learning and mastering your craft, I think you're already halfway there. I don't know if that makes sense. So practicing your craft and having a lot in your arsenal. I talk a lot about arsenal. Arsenal essentially not a football club. Yeah, they are good, but not so good. So arsenal essentially has to do with like what tools you have when it matters most. So how much you have in your how much data you have in your brain. I don't know if that makes sense. Arsenal is sort of your toolkit. How much have you learned and how much have you practiced, right? So long as you practice a lot and you have so much to like new ideas you can come up with based on a few things you've seen, you're already ahead of the AI, right? So that's what I can give. I don't know if that answers your question. It boils down to you just continuing to practice and building more, and that gives you a lot. That gives a lot for you to pull from if you need to work on a project. That's how you become better as a designer. And AI, you take AI like someone who is waiting for you to even build so he can learn from you. So they can like be trained, they can be trained on whatever you have designed. So the more you learn, the more you design, the more you practice, you're already a step ahead of AI. I don't know if that works for you, like that's enough for you, or you're looking for something else. You're looking like a different kind of answer.
I'm okay. Thank
Yeah,
you
okay.
very much.
All right, thank
Okay, I think Ralph also has his hand up. So Ralph, you can also unmute and then ask your question.
Yeah, I my question is on the AGI side. I also agree that it might be a while before we get to where the AI is forming opinion on its own.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to understand, do you think we'd ever get there? Because currently with the use case, with the kind of interface we generally work with,
Yeah.
it's prompt based.
Yeah.
Do you get? So even if it has its own thoughts or opinions, your prompt influences its response. And I think the same thing is like the same thing happens with humans as well. Like if if you like me or if you're in a good mood, the question I ask you, you would interpret it differently. And I'm just trying to understand, do you think how do you think this affects like AGI when it comes to design?
Bro, things I work at OpenAI. Yes. So, I mean, the truth is, nobody knows what's next these days. We can say no, it's not going to happen. And 2 days time, OpenAI releases a new paper that says, okay, we've released OpenAI, ChatGPT 10.0 that can now build and form its opinion and do all of that. But it's going to take a long while. The Anthropic CEO recently released an essay called "The Machines of Loving Grace," and he predicted that it would come by 2026. But his definition of AGI seems to be a bit different from definition of some other people, like maybe Sam Altman, who is also like very influential now with the AI stuff. He thinks it's coming in the next several thousand days. These are the people at the forefront of it, and they believe within the next decade it will come. I it takes so much. The AGI thing is going to be the truth is 10 years ago, what we have now, we could have considered AGI, but now we have it and it is and I'm believing the thing we believe will come in 10 years, we'll still see it and still feel like there's still something missing. That opinion thing is very crucial. Like AI being able to form its own opinion is very crucial for like AGI stuff. But it could be very dangerous. For example, if AI can form its own opinion and say, based on my learning and things, I now have the opinion that Black people do not really contribute anything to the world. maybe we should just take them out and give that place to the whites so we can have more land space, because now like only 30% of the world is land. So we need more space for humans, and we have too many human beings, and Africa is almost like 3 billion, I think, or 1 billion, whatever number. And I think we should just wipe them out. And AI can just influence some machines and some cables and all that and take us out in like 2, 3 days. Then that's problematic. That's why I think it will take us a very long time for, even if we have something that's able to think like that, for a very long time for them to take it, because the consequences can be very, very damaging. It can be so damaging. America can wake up and say, yeah, Russia, you've been worrying us for 10 days, for 10 years now. We think we need to halve the population. AI, what do you think? AI says, yeah, I believe so. I am American AGI. I'm going to war to save. So it's going to take a very long time. It's going to take a very long time. And that is not to say so many other things will not happen before then. That could like disrupt the design space and all that. But it's going to take a long time for it to take you and I out completely, moon there. As for that one there. Yes. I don't know if that answers your question. It's going to take more than 10 years, I believe. I'm not there. I'm not there with them, but it's going to take more than 10 years to have anything that can like form its own opinions and will be allowed to be living among us. Yeah. Am I still online?
Oh yes,
Okay.
I think I'd like to ask one more question and then we can wrap up for today. So,
Yes.
one question I'd like to ask you is that with how things are going, with AI and how it's been integrated into our lives,
Mm-hmm.
what's the one thing that you are excited for or you're looking out for? You're kind of like waiting for it to come proper, you know?
Mm. Rough thought I was working at OpenAI. Now you think I'm working at Antwerp. We're talking
Not like
about coding and designing.
so for you, like, what's one thing that at least like you wish AI will be able to help you or help like everyone with in the future?
In the future,
Yeah, like your like your ideal case, your
okay, so
wildest
I'm
wishes
going
or
to talk
dreams.
about finance because I work in finance, and Achieve is something I work on like 8 hours a day, every day, even on weekends.
Uh-huh.
And like I said, Achieve 3.0 is coming next year. Hopefully, say getting to the end of the year. We usually do our like serious releases in September, right? So V1, V2, V3, etc. Um, uh, and one of the things I've been playing around is how we make AI help us with our investments, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know, all these things I'm doing this money. Go to work, come back, etc. If I can just sit somewhere, because we've all have this, all fintech products have this buzzword of make your money work for you, etc. What if AI can actually help us make money work for us? Why I just go to sleep, my AI is checking my trades or my investments. Okay, Apple is going down. Apple has been going down for this. Historical data shows that if you do ABCD, it could go this way, etc. If AI can help me with that and like, I don't know, buy stocks on my behalf when like it can make proper predictions. For example, all this was not like I'm not advising, but all this was going on in the Middle East, Israel bombing everybody they don't agree with, Iran and Iraq and all of them bombing everybody, Russia doing this. These weapon manufacturing companies, public companies, their stocks are like on the rise. It's like they have been some nitro put into them and all that. So if you can get them, there's Nvidia there now doing all these things, all these AI chips and all that, stocks skyrocketing. If my AI can just sit somewhere and be looking at all this and doing that for me, because at the end of the day, it's money I'm looking for. All this design, code, sleepless nights, all of that is for me to make money. So if it can help me like make something more on my investment and all that, I'll be very grateful. I'll be like very delighted. And it's something I've been playing around with on Achieve how that can work, because it's also very problematic. Because if the AI, instead of making you money, makes you lose money, then you have a big problem, especially in this economy, Akufo-Addo economy. So yes, it's something I look forward to in finance. AI being able to like help properly plan finances, help you with investment decisions, and yeah, and the likes. Yeah. I think that would be very, very much appreciated.
Yeah, that's actually interesting. Like it's quite interesting if it's
Yeah.
something that will be able to happen. Yeah,
Mm, mm.
yeah,
Do I think it will be able to happen? Did you say?
yeah. Like if it's something that will be able to happen, very soon in a way. I mean, if we like give all the time, I'm pretty sure eventually it's able to happen where we can integrate it into all these parts of our
So
lives.
I think it's
Yeah.
happening, but not at the scale that I'm looking for it. What's happening now is it can advise you that, well, I think you can do this, but I'm not saying you should do it. This one I'm talking about, it's not just advising, but doing it.
It's for you.
And maybe I come back in like, or give me like reports every 1 week. Oh, these are the things I did. I sold your Apple stocks for you because they were performing poorly, and I bought some planetary stocks for you because they are going up, and because of the recession and the Federal Reserve of America cutting ABCD, I predict that this company is going to rise. So because of that, I've already bought maybe 10,000 shares of their stock. And that's what I'm talking about. That I don't think is currently happening. Nobody is crazy enough to allow them to do that yet. But then giving you advice, I think, no, sorry, not I think, prefixing with as an AI robot, I cannot do this, but I can tell you that with that one, I think they are already doing stuff like that. So it's purely based on mass. I mean, Perplexity has some stock. They introduced some new stock thing recently, and all the AI tools seem to have something of that sort in the way they can sort of advise you and all that, but not at the scale I'm looking for.
Well,
Mm.
that's actually nice. That's actually nice. So I think I'd like to thank you for the session. It's been quite insightful. But then
Yeah,
before
thanking
you
me after cornering me and asking me about AI. If I work out open AI. Yeah.
it's part of it. But then before you go, if
Yeah.
anyone would kind of like to get in touch with you or keep an eye out for anything that you're working on, where can they find you?
My life is not really that interesting. I don't have anything interesting coming up except Mizomo stuff, and probably achieve in the next year, like I said, somewhere around September, we should have like V3. We'll be releasing something in the next 5 days. It's um, it's an update to the V2 we currently have, but not like update like that. It's cool. It's coming. Let me not be the one to say it. They say 5 days. So 5 days time that will be out. But then V3 will be coming out somewhere getting to the end of next year. So yeah, something like I'm personally very pumped about. Like it's something we've been working on, cleaning up stuff. The V2 getting to understand like all these complexities with like finance and all that. So it's something I'm very excited to see. Mizomo stuff, yes, we've launched a travel platform, mizormor.com. You can use to plan trips. There is AI there, by the way. If you like AI, there's AI there. But we have like new exciting stuff coming up with pro features, like I said, um, being able to like have chats, group trip games, um, travel journal, budget tracker within your trip, and all that. So some awesome stuff coming on that end. Personally, nothing much. I won't get married. I won't do anything, so you don't need to follow me or anything. But if you feel like my social media is usually very dead, it's US Coffee. I usually forget that I have one, so I tweet like once in a blue moon. But it's UX Coffee. Let me just type it here for anyone who's interested. Uh, yeah, that's that. I think generally everywhere, Twitter, Instagram, X, Instagram, and everywhere should be that, or Hope Adoli on LinkedIn, Facebook, which is probably even more dead than the rest. But yes, that's how you can hit me up. If you have anything you are working on, I'm very happy to check things. If you are working on some new cool projects, just hit me up, send it to me in the like DM or something. I want to check it out. I want to see. I'm inspired by like, the kind of things people create. People are very creative. People are very creative, and all. I want to see stuff. I want to like give. If I have feedback, I give. If anything, yeah. I'm like very happy to see stuff. If you have any, I mean.
All right. Thank you very much, and thank you to everyone who joined the session as well. So the session was recorded and it will be live on YouTube. So if you want to check it out later, hopefully during the course of the week, it should be live on YouTube, and then the link will be shared on the UX Ghana social media handles. Right, so you can check it out there. And I think before I go to just to continue with the discussion that we're having, I'll be hosting a session tomorrow evening. I think it's like what, maybe 7 or 8 p.m. I don't really, probably like 8 p.m. or 7. Right. But then let's say from 7 p.m. I'll be hosting a session where I'll do like a deep dive into, not necessarily a deep dive, but a walkthrough of how I've been using, like ChatGPT in building actually. So how I use it to build my portfolio and a couple of other projects that I am working on as well. So if you're interested in that too, you can join the session tomorrow. The thing should be, I think I tweeted it on my Twitter, but then I'll probably like tweet it again. And let me just find the link and make sure for anyone who's interested and would like to join as well. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, by the way, thank you so much for the kind words, Jeff. You be big long. One day invite me to come and eat fufu in your house. Okay, and we talk about AI.
Sure. All right. So I've dropped the link in the chat if you'd like to join tomorrow's session. So once again, thanks to everyone for joining, and hope to see you in the next one. All right. Hope you have a good week. Enjoy the rest of the week. Yeah. Peace and love.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.